The point is they've caught Federal Reserve branch banks. They've caught the CIA repeatedly. They've caught CIA aircraft crashing full of cocaine. I've talked to people that are involved in the Army with these surveillance blimps. And I've talked to Border Patrol people, and it's come out countless times, and I saw it in the Austin American Statesman years ago. The state police caught an 18-wheeler full of pure cocaine, and the feds just came and took it and then gave it to a bank. They just took it and gave it back to the quote owner. Yeah, there it is. Banks financing Mexico's gangs admitted in Wells Fargo deal, and Wells Fargo just had to admit that they were basically laundering drug money and financing the cartels specifically to buy the aircraft, weapons, you name it. In one deal, they found 128 black suitcases packed with 5.7 tons of cocaine. The smugglers had bought the DC-9s with laundered funds they transferred through two of the biggest banks in the U.S., Wachovia Corporation and Bank of America Corp. Bloomberg Market Magazine reports in its August 2010 issue. Again, they just did the search I told them, and you'll get hundreds of news articles, every bank you've heard of and every other bank you haven't heard of. I mean, this is a pure narcotics trafficking state. So why shouldn't the U.S. government allow certain defense contractors to run kidnapped women and children? And if they're going to do that for decades publicly and get caught constantly and not get in trouble, why not go ahead and snuff film the kids? There are perverts that'll pay even more for that. So it comes out mainly in European press about our corporations running snuff films. I mean, I've read in Italian papers, and you name it. I mean, it's, you know, little toddlers having their heads blown off. I mean, our government is Satan incarnate. I mean, it's just absolute evil. Anything goes. But then I heard local news last week hyperventilating on air about there's a bar in downtown Austin, and it was all over the news. The police department was having press conferences, and it was just so serious. Somebody got a $100 bill counterfeit past the people at the bar, and the bar apologized for taking it. And again, APD's looking at it. They're really concerned right now. Our criminal government is pumping over, if you count all the different programs together, $200 billion a month. $100 billion plus in the quantitative easing program, over $100 billion in other programs. $200+ billion a month being pumped out to their subsidiaries worldwide with no public accounting. No one in the government's allowed to see who it's going to. But then later it leaks, we find out it's the U.S. media, select corporations, foreign banks, foreign corporations, foreign individuals. I mean, it is just bankers and CIA and government in there stealing everything. Pension funds. That's why they reported back in September 8th, 9th, and 10th of 2001, $2.1 trillion missing from the Pentagon in just the previous 2 years. And a lot of people said, well, the budget's not even $1 trillion a year back then for the Pentagon. Now it's over that. How are they stealing trillions? That's more than the whole budget. It was the pension funds. It was the investment funds. That's why you're hearing now, oh, military people, you're going to have to get your own insurance when you get out of the military. Oh, you're going to have to pay for your own food when your arms and legs are blown off when you're in rehabilitation at Ramstein to be flown back to the U.S. That's why they've got all these PR charities running now to raise money for the troops, you know, through the general public, because there's not going to be health care. There's not going to be pensions. All of those promises and contracts are being broken and will be completely broken because everything has already been stolen. There are thousands and thousands of wealthy brokerage firm and banker execs and stockholders in these banks who are so wealthy. I mean, you'll read about them purchasing for $3 billion, you know, a couple 100-acre island, one of hundreds and hundreds off Greece. I mean, you'll just read about them. It's unlimited wealth. They stole everything. It's already gone. And you can tell cops this all day. The average cop, they just on a power trip for the state. They just salute the black uniforms and salute the New World Order and say, doesn't matter if my standard of living's going down. Talking bad about the government is treason. Huh. And, I mean, it is just, and that's why the globalists are moving on every front to just absolutely set a total police state up because they're going to get away with all of this. And there's a method to their madness to fully bankrupt the country so that you are now completely dependent on government to wreck the free market, to wreck family farms and ranches, to wreck local businesses, to wreck Main Street with the Pentagon-run Walmart grid, total Pentagon front, over 40% of world retail sales, integrating in the RFID chips, the universal product code, IBM, the big six mega banks, Microsoft, all admitted government subsidiaries through the fascist control grid. And I know I'm already ranting and I have all this news to get to. It's just mind-blowing to watch this happening out in the open. And it makes me so frustrated that it's so out in the open. And sure, people are waking up, but not fast enough. And the control grid to suppress the awakening and to stop the American people from taking back control of their government and bringing these criminals to justice is just slamming into place. Don't you understand the globalists have to go to total tyranny? They have committed crimes so huge, so monstrous, so colossal, so gargantuan that they must bring in total tyranny to protect themselves and to continue their scam. And they've got the general public just so brain damaged and brainwashed and diverted and distracted, and the language has been reduced down to almost nothing. And the average person just clicks on the computer all day thinking they're getting something done when they're not. We're like rats running around in a treadmill. And the whole planet is just hurtling towards absolute global depression by design to fold us into the new environmentalist economy, which is the planned scarcity and artificial being poor, artificial poverty, the media making it so fashionable to be into austerity. I mean, we are being inducted. The globalists have publicly made the decision, if you go back even 100 years ago, to build a world government, to go with the authoritarian model. And you see it all over the news where they go, authoritarianism actually works really well. Look how good it is in China. Look how good it is in areas like the model that they're using in Singapore. We need that model. And, of course, it's horrible for the individual. It's horrible for creativity. It's horrible for the economy. But they sell this destructive system as if it's good. But I got off talking about the border situation and started ranting about government crimes. Banks financing Mexican gangs, admitted Wells Fargo deal, Bank of America, Wachovia, all of them just hundreds and 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 hundreds of billions. Just the drug dealer money alone in Wachovia was $378.4 billion from 2004 to 2007. $378.4 billion. and I've heard talk show host talk about me and say Alex Jones is nuts. He says the government's involved in narcotics trafficking. You're talking about conservatively $500 billion a year laundered in the U.S. yearly of drug money directly from the source. That's not counting the recycling of the drug money through the low-level pushers. And then they build giant prisons and put the street-level pushers in their prisons, which are then colleges to teach others how to drug deal. And so we send our kids to college. I mean, that's what it is. The government pushes the Ritalin, the Prozac. The studies show you're 3 to 5, depending on which study, times more likely to use illegal drugs once you've been put on Ritalin or Prozac or other prescription mind-altering drug. So they prime you with that. They tell you don't use drugs. They tell you how to use the drugs in the DARE program, which studies show massively increased interest in drugs. Then the drugs are sold by the low-level government retailer. And then when your kid gets caught with marijuana or whatever it is, they go to juvie. And then in juvie, they get inducted. They get gang raped and beat up if they don't become drug dealers. For the higher level, low-level drug dealers in the in the juvie. And by the time they're 25, they've got HIV, hundreds of tattoos all over them. They think it's really cool that, you know, they have gangster speak and have no idea about human history or anything else. And now they are zombie goblins out selling the drugs to more people to be inducted into the criminal college to then be pumped back out. Then the middle class gets scared, ask for police state to help them, but the police state's really
disaster upon disaster.